Welcome to the Jarol SVU channel. Today we'll discuss my first outlines of new competitive decks using set 5. We finally have all cards from set 5 spoiled. If we want to understand this set from the first tournaments, we need to start testing early enough. I conducted them mainly on Carabast for now, a little on TTS. The decks I chose were supposed to be both interesting and potentially competitive. Of course, these are not the final versions of these decks, especially the sideboards will probably evolve, but I think that the vast majority are already complete. So let's move on to the detailed discussion. As the first deck, I will talk about the one I played the most, because I think that in the next set it will be one of my main decks. However, not because I think that it will be a tier 1 deck, but because it reminds me a lot of my favorite midrange deck, Boba ICL. Some of you may remember that I played most of the second set with Boba ICL and I changed it to Choir when Boba green starts to be everywhere and I would often have to play mirrors. Boba, just like Reva, that was the name of the first sister in Obi-Wan Kenobi series, played ECL primarily to perform powerful D-play turns with Steadfast Battalion. Steadfast Battalion can either be a killer of large units up to 7 HP or assign a lot of damage from Overwhelm like Maul, which often makes it a great offensive card. Boba had an offensive ship Fire Spray and Reva has a Ruthless Raider. Both Reva and Boba count a lot on Maul, 7 resources optimally as a finisher. Both decks are tempo midrange that feel best in the offensive and is primarily intended to destroy other midrange decks and have a good chance against aggro and control. The optimal line of this particular deck is turn 1 play, ramp, Reva plus Steadfast, Ruthless, Maul. Her ability to give units hidden is quite good, but not as good as Boba's, and this is one of the main reasons that this deck will most likely never be as strong as Boba ICL and will only aspire to this level. What is the problem with this ability? Hidden only work for one phase, the one in which the unit is played, so sometimes the opponent can simply take the initiative to kill an important unit. Apart from that, Hidden of course does not defend against removals or tapping. Because of this ability does not think against hard control. All this makes Hidden situationally good. The positive sides are that in the first turn your turn 1 play will not die from ECL if you have the initiative. Mono green pulp when he only has a few HP left, and this is a common situation in such a matchup. You can finish him off thanks to the ability, even if you have not drawn more finishers such as Ruthless or Maul, simply by playing a unit, preferably in space, so as not to be blocked by Sentinel. Pulp green has little removal, so this matchup should be pretty good as well as against other decks that lack removal, for example yellow-green hero or villains don't have much. A few words about potentially controversial choices in this deck. Imperial package works quite well here because we have a lot of strong Imperials and Reva herself is an Imperial, so even if you don't draw Barrage or Steadfast, you can play TIE Advance and make her 7-6. A unit with 6 HP is not so easy to kill. If no TIE Advance, Traitorous can also be a common choice. As long as Upgrade Hate is not played in every deck, this card does a great job, especially when you play Ramp on turn 2, which is common in this deck. You have 11 turn 1 plays here, so you can often risk a bit and mulligan for Ramp. Consortium Star Viper is here only because it's quite strong with ECL and an attempt to improve the matchup against Sabine and space decks. Vader Pilot is another strong unit with ECL, it can kill most leaders or Luke, and useful pilot. Initial tests on Carabast were quite positive here as the statistics. The big question is the matchup against Sabine. I've only played it once here and that was against the Data Vault version. However, against Sabine ECL piloted by competitive player, it will probably be very difficult to play control because we only have 25 HP. Maybe a race at the ramp will be possible, like in the case of Boba ECL, but Boba ECL had a big help in the form of Fire Spray. Ruthless is slower in this matchup. Other midranges and control should be possible to beat, so I think this deck can be quite strong. I will probably come back to the topic of the deck in the next videos, because I plan to play it even more. So as not to miss anything, subscribe the channel. The next deck is Kanan Blue. Kanan immediately seemed like an interesting leader to me. potential 5/8 shielded on 6 resources with a fairly good ability sounds good. However, when I had to choose a specific color, I came to the conclusion that it was either blue or yellow because the competition in other combinations is too big. In blue, green, white we have Rey, Luke or Yoda. In blue, red, white we have Anakin, Rey and Han too. I think it is very unlikely that Kanan can be stronger than them. In yellow we have 3 Spectres if I remember correctly, but in mono blue we have Doom, which is potentially a very strong card. If you have several units, a situation where each of them grows by 1/1 each turn, and many decks has very low chances to remove him because he has 7 HP and you can give him shields from Kanan's ability. Yes, Doom is slow, but blue hero decks have much bigger problems with slow decks than aggro, and that's how this deck was created. Just like Reva and Revan in initial tests, it performed well. Tests on Karabast are of course not the most reliable, but they show some things. For comparison, Maghira with a new card scored 8-2 against decks with new cards. It should be 9-1 because in one game I chose a completely wrong strategy, thinking that Anakin with a new base of 28 is probably a midrange or aggro, and it turned out to be some kind of soft control with a discard plan. As for the deck strategy, it is a midrange, so it's play control against aggro and usually aggressively against control, against other midranges for an advantage on the table and in the number of cards in the hand. Optimally, it wants to win the game on about 7 resources by developing a white board with Doom, which strengthens in every turn, and Cannon 5/8 supported by other units. Luke and Redemption can act as finishers. When it comes to potentially controversial choices, Doom is quite too slow against aggro, so theoretically it can be questioned. However, tests confirm the logical assumption that it's too strong against midranges and soft control to not play. Against aggro we have enough other cards, and this is also an argument for only one copy of Lot Wolf. Lot Wolf, which can be very strong against aggro because only for 2 we have Battlefield Marine with Sentinel who cannot attack by himself, but against aggro it is not a problem, and in addition you can give him shield from Cannon's ability because he has creature trait. However, the fact that I assume a good matchup against aggro is not the only reason. If we look at 2 drops, we have only strong choices here. Arc to be able to defend in space, Quill as one of the main reasons to play mono blue, due to the possibility of drawing a lot of cards. Yaddle with a good stat line, Restore and additionally a good ability. In practice it works well because Kanan is a Jedi and we have a total of 17 cards with this trait in the deck. Hera is an average unit, but piloting can be very important for trading in space or accelerating the attack against control. But in order not to have as many as 6 units turn 1 plays with a very weak 2/3 against Battlefield Marine and unit Sabine, I threw out one Wolf. Maybe its number will be increased with the changes in the meta. Bendu in 3 copies and Obi-Wan in 2. Bendu has creature trait, so it's potentially one of the best plays in Kanan's deploy turn, so Kanan has 5/8 and the table is blocked. Obi-Wan, apart from the lack of trait, can lose the game when he is killed with no glory on the results. But I'm not a fan of not playing him at all, because he is very strong in all other matchups except blue villain decks. Rivals Fall the Dragon. In a matter of meta, for now I prefer Rivals Fall because of the possibility of killing simply everything. The rest of the lists are rather logical, not controversial choices. I really enjoyed playing this deck and I think it has the potential for competitive play, although it will probably never be at tier 1 either. Mono blue traditionally has big problem against villain ramp decks and soft control, and this deck although makes this matchup a bit better, but still probably quite negative. As the last in the episode, we have another cool deck, although not necessarily tier 1. Revan is an interesting leader, only one aspect of the card makes him very unique. In discussions about spoilers, I generally heard opinion that even with some color he would be average. I do not agree with these opinions, and honestly I did not agree even before the test. Revan's ability reward attacking with units so that they kill opponent and stay on the table, giving experience token for it. That is why the deck is built in such a way to make profitable trades as often as possible, I decided that blue should be the best for this type of deck because of Childson, Entrench, Death Trooper and Grievous. All these cards make it more likely that we will make profitable trades. In addition, with Imperial Package, which can also support blue with Krennic, Onyx or Corvus. Imperial Advance and Lieutenant can also be useful for profitable trades. In addition, we have Darth Malak, who is very strong if we manage to throw him into the game together with Revan so that he is prepared. Revan's sword, if played on Revan or Malak, rewards trading even more and can easily create a situation for the opponent to answer or die when our Sith suddenly has an attack. Two words about Revan's deploy. 3-6 is of course a poor stat for leader who comes out of 5, but it also has Restore 1, which can be helpful. If there is a threat of one-shot Revan, we play Childson or Super Command Squad, covering him with Sentinel. If not, Malak is usually the best play. I played this deck almost as much as Reva, but there was bigger problem with finding the right list here, so there were a lot more failures. It looks like the deck can be a solid midrange for which the main problem will be soft control. In the next episodes I plan to include active participation in TTI top cuts with set 4 or showing some test games with set 5. So as not to miss anything, subscribe to the channel. See you next week. Bye.